Welcome to the Awaken the Awesome podcast with your host, Olivier Day. This is Awaken the Awesome, a podcast where we acknowledge that we are all in this together. Through enlightening conversations and personal insights, we like to engage with individuals just like you who show us how they are bringing a little bit of awesomeness along their individual journeys. Our hope is to inspire you to always keep pushing and to stay awesome along the way. The entrepreneurial mindset is made up of a diverse array of essential aspects. We can talk about the patience and resilience that are necessary in order to overcome the unavoidable roadblocks that will surely arise when one chooses to go after their dream, or the importance of never losing sight of one's vision while toiling away and trying to fit the right pieces together in order to make said dream a reality. These details certainly did not escape my next guest, Jeff Policard, whose story I'm thrilled to share with you today on the program. Born and raised in Haiti, Jeff grew up in a traditional household with the added blessing of an emphasis on music, given that Jeff's father is an iconic jazz pianist and composer. With a definite passion to create, Jeff eventually emigrated to the U.S. to further his education and eventually earn his degree. By the merit of his own incredible efforts and despite some difficult circumstances, Jeff is currently the CEO of Cool Ideas Marketing, a dynamic and energetic marketing firm aimed at providing their clients with the most innovative ideas and concepts to help their company reach its goals and beyond. Jeff is also a dedicated husband and father, a role that he takes tremendous pride in and, by his own words, continues to fuel his daily efforts. On this heartwarming and fun exchange, we get to hear Jeff's incredible journey as well as the many chapters and lessons that spawn from it, from stepping out from under our parents' shadow to the resourcefulness that one has to develop when building a company from scratch, staying true to oneself, always putting in the work, and so much more. So let's get into this. Awaken the Awesome, episode 131 with Jeff Policard. Here we go. First of all, I want to thank you for your courtesy and inviting me into your last episode on your podcast, Jeff, because again, podcasting is a community, but ever since the fact that we connected over LinkedIn, and even though, with the entire familiarity of growing up in Haiti, and even though we both went to St. Louis and we probably crossed paths at some point, because Haiti is such a small country, so it's really possible we just crossed each other at some point. But you know what? Life happens. And then, you meet somebody, a like-minded person who reaches out and has the courtesy to invite you. Hey, it would be really nice if you're on your podcast, you'd be on my podcast and everything. Like, you know what? I really don't mind because, this has shown me, this entire journey has shown me how it's important to open yourself up to the universe and opportunities and conversations. And when you meet like-minded people, as I like to tell everybody who's listening to us, you should not just be centered on your navel enough and just close yourself off to people who might not be in the same industry as you, who might not be in the same country as you, who might not be in your same network, but still, at some point, we're all human beings and we understand each other for this passion that pushes us forward along our journeys. And when Jeff and I connected, automatically there was something there which allowed us to actually push forward. And, when I was on your podcast, really, I have to say, I've been on a few podcasts, but I had a lot of fun. I really did have a lot of fun. And I meant it when we logged off. And I told you, you know what, you've got something here. You're putting yourself out there. And I really believe that you're really knocking yourself, too much and really, underplaying the fact that you're doing a terrific job. And I enjoy the fact that you're putting yourself out there. It's a terrific thing. First of all, I want to say thank you and congratulations on still putting the work and pushing it forward. And it's that same courtesy and that same mindset that I want to welcome you to the Awaken the Awesome podcast, man. It's a pleasure and an honor to have you on. Man,
thank you so much. And it's funny you say that because I thought this exact same thing, even the way we got into communication started with the LinkedIn message, and I think you're definitely right. Also, we went to the same high school, so I'm pretty sure we did cross paths at a certain point. And yeah, man, I had a lot of fun, having you on my podcast too, man. And to be honest with you, I know you say, man, hey, come on, man, stop with all the praises and everything, but literally, man, it changed my entire perspective as to how I could approach this. And it gave me the confidence that I needed in order to push forward. And I know you say that, I'm too hard on myself, but that's just how I am because of my marketing background too. It's almost like every time I put something out, because of what I do for my clients, and I'm always trying to get as much perfection as possible into my marketing, that I see my podcast as the same way. But I do understand also it's a work in progress. I'm not a professional podcaster. I'm only on episode 9 that's coming out on Wednesday. So it's going to take me time to really understand how this thing works and make the mistakes that I'm supposed to make in the beginning, like you told me too, and just embrace those mistakes and get better and then document the process. And that's what I'm trying to do. Not only documenting the process, but also being able to share that process with an audience. And hopefully they see how I got from 0 listeners to millions of listeners, which is the ultimate goal.
There you go. There you go. You need to have a vision and, just stay true to that vision, stay committed. And I see nothing but great things for you, man. And you know what? Just starting off the conversation, as randomly as it is, really, because, I don't like to, research too much into my guests because that allows me to have, the curious mind that I do, But one thing really hit me when you talked about, because on your website, in the short interview you also gave on LinkedIn, which was really cool. You talked about, just growing up in a musical household. And from the fact that I know that your father is kind of a living legend, so just for for the people who don't know, it's like you cannot go around the historical timeline of Haitian music without referencing Jeff's dad. I'm curious, growing up into that household, obviously that fed your musical passion, because you've been very open about the fact that passion, like music was a passion of yours. But still having that traditional background, when you have to leave home and go to college and your father tells you, like, you know what, yeah, go for music, but do something serious. What was that conversation like?
Man, it's funny you say that again, because I had a conversation about that a little while ago, because we have a friend of my dad's actually is a drummer, and his son is apparently 10 times as great as his dad. And obviously, I think, at least to me, I would love it if my son, became, 10 times the man I am in everything that I do. I think that's the ultimate goal for any parent, really. And for me to hear that and knowing how good his dad is still and touring with, big names in the industry, I think I can't even remember the artist, but almost any top singer you can imagine he was touring with. So his son went to the University of Berkeley in Boston to pursue his musical career and dreams. And that's the conversation that I had with my dad, at least as far as I can remember, that I wanted to go to Berkeley myself, and pursue my music career. And because he was the one paying for my college education, like, nah, not really. I think you should probably do something else, like you said, like a better plan or plan B or something more serious. I think that's what you said.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, more serious? I'm like, nothing is more serious than my music, because I'm in my mind, I was like, already I was an album out of my professional music, quote unquote professional music career, because our first album came out when I was a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to go back a little bit further. Actually, this album came out, actually I had a 2-album deal with a prominent Haitian producer at the time. And the reason why we got this deal is because of my dad. I remember that first meeting. It was at my dad's office, and he was asking me the titles of the tracks of the album, the first album, just so he has an idea of what we're going to be talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I literally made up half of the album during the meeting.
Oh, wow.
I had a few tracks that were already out. Well, one track that was out, a few tracks that were already written, but most of them I just literally made them up. And then I was forced to use those titles to, to actually record the album. But
Oh, wow.
I knew that at the time that he gave us that opportunity because of my dad. It was not because of us. He had never even heard us that much. He was just like, listen, your guy, you both, me and my brother, the sons of Reginald Policard, I'm going to give you guys a 2-album deal, blah, blah, blah. And then we signed and then we did it, And so in my opinion, I mean, not in my opinion, but in my view at that time, I was like, you know what? I'm going to continue doing this and I'm going to get better, go to college and, learn music and come back and then, explode as a musician. But I have to thank my dad for that decision, because it's very hard for a musician to make a good living from music. It's very, very tough. and that not only that, but especially in Haiti, and also the lifestyle, traveling a lot, all that stuff are things at the time when I was young. I was like, man, I embraced that. Now, I don't really see myself, being away from my family for that long.
Mm.
It doesn't matter how much money you make, literally. And I think in one of your last podcasts I was listening to today, he said the same thing about, he was trying to justify his trips. And it was like, man, is it really about my family when I'm always traveling all the time? And
There you go.
and yeah, it's good money, but that's kind of like what my mindset is now. So I thank him for that, for giving me the opportunity to be, more on the marketing side, which still allows me to explore my creative side almost as much, actually, because I do jingles for my clients. I do videos for my clients. I write copy. I
Aha.
design strategies. So I mean, I'm still able to use my music.
And what does that say about, because my question was twofold. First of all, I
Hmm.
was going to ask you, because what's it like? Did you ever feel, obviously, because this is a low-hanging fruit question, did you ever feel the pressure, when you were still on that musical journey to have to, outdo, your father's legacy, or did you feel the comfort to grow into your own? Did you ever feel that?
Yeah, so that was the part that I didn't answer. But look, for me, it's like I feel like I'm always living in my dad's shadow. So I'm always gonna be Reginald's son. I'm 40 years old now, and I don't think I'm gonna, do anything in music right now that's gonna outdo my dad, right? Because the level of music that he's able to put out is extremely high, and if you apply the 10,000 hour concept, to getting at that level, I would literally have to be playing piano and singing for 8 hours a day for the next 5 years. And that's not going to happen. I know that, I would love it to happen if I'm able to, maybe in my 50s and 60s, if I make as much money as I think, as I hope that I'm going to make,
Hmm.
then maybe I can afford to, play and sing all day long and maybe improve my skills. But then again, at that age, it's very hard for you to get better at almost anything. So I don't think I know I'm never going to get as good as my dad musically, in terms of the level and the quality of music and his genius in composing and arranging music. He's been doing it all his life too, and he's getting better himself. So I can't pretend to start now and to, eclipse what he's done. Now, my dream, in order for me to maybe get out of of that shadow, is to reach further in a way, in the sense of maybe if it's the message of the music, or it might be the crowds that I bring in because it's more popular music, and also using the music platform to do greater things. And if I'm able to do that, then I feel like, at least myself, I'll be able to get out of his shadow. But the pressure was always there. I've had friends of mine call me, said, like, literally, and I appreciated that. He called me I think about 10, 15 years ago. He said, Jeff, you know what, man? Vous sont crétins. You're, you're,
You're an idiot.
yeah, you're an idiot. You're an idiot. It's like, why? It's like, I was just listening to your dad's last album. You're an idiot, man. You have this guy in the same household as you, and then you can't play like, you know even like you can't even live up to 1% of what he's doing and stuff. And I laughed. I'm like, you're right. I'm not going to pretend that I am able to do whatever it is that he's able to do, but you see it differently from the outside. But my relationship with my dad has been also very difficult, because of a lot of reasons. So he never really taught me how to play, never really had the patience to teach me. And also he didn't want me to play the music that I wanted to play, which at the time, I'm a teenager. What am I going to play? I'm not going to play, a Bill Evans,
Hmm.
just because he did, but he's the exception. The rule says that I'm going to play T-Vice. I'm going to play Cadence, I'm going to play,
Your own
Jakut.
influences, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. That was, but he didn't want me to play that. I understand now, but I think there's a way to communicate with your kid so that you say, okay, listen, you can play that, but let's play this. Let me teach you that, and then you'll get 10 times better at this by learning that.
Apply
So
your own flavor. And what does that
eh,
say about, you obviously at some point right now you have, the maturity and obviously the hindsight, to look at, the good and the lesser of the dynamic between you and your father. But what does that say in regards to, may I call it the naivete of youth? You know, hey, I'm going to go out, I'm going to go study, and I'm going to be a super rock star. And he doesn't know what he's talking about. Plan B. Who needs a plan B? You know, it's like, I'm all in. But now that you have the knowledge that you do with the track record that you have and having pivoted, you know, not basically turned your back on music, but having pivoted, do you believe that, you know, those roadblocks was necessary? Like, you know, what was that, you know, that journey of acceptance like for you, you know, having to acknowledge, because you were very open about it in your interview as well, like, you know, the acceptance of saying like, you know what, maybe I'm not as good as I thought I am. You know, maybe I should just like, you know, put my energy into something I'm genuinely passionate about, because we're going to get to the marketing in a second. But what was that process like for you?
Man, that's a beautiful question. I've never been asked this question before. I think the saying that goes like, if the old could and if the youth knew, applies to this situation tenfold, because at the time I was like, man, I can do this. Like, I can just I don't need plan B. I'm going to be a rock star. I really literally thought I was going to be the biggest, you know, the most famous musician off of talent alone. That was my biggest mistake. Yes, I think I'm still talented. And when I was a kid, I was very talented. I was very advanced for my age. I used to do things when I was younger that a lot of my peers that I'm better than me now used to look up to me. So I'm like, man, my biggest mistake, if I could call it a regret, is not working hard enough and taking my talent for granted. So that's where I'm like, man, if I could change anything and look back from today and how I was as a youngster, you know, playing music and being blessed by not only the talents that I had, but also the environment that I had, because the talent came from my ears, you know, listening, because that's what really forms your musical talent and your ability to create is what comes in through these ears. So I make sure that my kids are not listening, nothing against rap music or compa. You know, I love listening to these types of music, you know, especially while entertaining and stuff, right? But like on the daily, you know, if I'm listening to music while I'm cooking in the morning on a Sunday or whatever, or even if I'm, you know, relaxing in the backyard, it would be something that's a little bit more advanced, a little bit more creative in the melodies, in the words, in the arrangements, because even if the kids don't like it and they don't understand it, I know for a fact, because that's what happened to me. When you get older, it will enhance your ability to be creative. And also, studies actually have shown that it actually increases your intelligence. It improves your intelligence, you know. So that's what I had when I was growing up, and I took it for granted. I just didn't put in the hours. And that's why my friend called me and like, Jeff, you're an idiot. And he was right. I'm like, I should have put in, regardless of my relationship with my dad, I should have put in the hours, you know, and then, you know, I might have been now today probably a professional musician and arranger or whatever. Who knows?
Who knows?
You know?
Who knows? It's not about regret. It's about, you know, taking in the wisdom, taking in, you know, all the lessons. That's important because, you know, it's important to, you know, embrace the journey and embrace our chapters no matter how difficult, you know. And I don't think you should be looking back at it, you know, with resentment and everything. But I do hear, you know, this curiosity, and there will always be what ifs. There will always be what ifs, you know, because I see, you know, just my own personal 2 cents. I see life as like that scene in The Matrix, where you have a long hallway full of doors, you know, and you know they're unlocked, and you have to choose the fact that, you know, you're going to walk through this door, and one is going to close, and you have to walk wherever that path leads you, and every one of those doors is a choice, you know. And at some point also every one of those doors is a consequence, and you know what, we have to accept every choice that we make and the consequences that come forth. And you know what? And I applaud you, because right now I'm hearing somebody with a lot of foresight, a lot of hindsight, and a lot of maturity. And I applaud you for that, because a lot of people would just fall into their ego, just like, yeah, I could have been. No. I hear somebody who truly and honestly accepts the fact that, okay, this was my journey and this is how it happened. Because you're not going to sit, I'm not hearing somebody here saying like, you know, oh, how did this happen? No, it happened because I didn't put in the work. It happened because I didn't put in the work. I didn't put in the time. I didn't put in, you know, the dedication. And you know what? This is the consequence. And you're not in a bad chapter. It's just part of your journey. And you know what? It's something you should be proud of. Seriously. I celebrate you
Thank
for
you.
the for being so open about it. Um
Thanks.
I've gotten to know you just a little bit, you know, for all interactions on the WhatsApps. And I'm sorry, I'm just like so when I get on WhatsApp, I get so intense. I'm sorry. So, so but we've gotten to know each
Hold
other
on.
at some
Let
yeah.
me interrupt you 1 second. You said only when you get on WhatsApp you get intense?
But it's part of my shtick. You know, that's the good thing. At least people know for a fact that I am both, you know, both online and offline. I'm just who I am. But, you know,
That's it,
sometimes it
man.
can be too intense for some people. But, you know, you and I are on the same level and the same frequency, and I appreciate you for that.
For
But
sure.
one thing that really touches me, and I've told you this, I'm a very big advocate, you know, for fatherhood and for men and the role of the men within the family. And, you know, even though we grew up in a very macho society, I don't negate the fact that the father has a really big place in the family circle. And when I read about the fact that, you know, your son was born 5 months into you starting your business, I was like, wow. Because I remember at some point I had lost my job. And, you know, fortunately, I did have a couple of weeks off, you know, with Canada pensions and stuff. And, you know, I had a few weeks of maternity leave. But I know at some point, you know, something was going to come around. But I'm just picturing myself in your shoes, 5 months in, new baby, and you're taking sales calls, you're taking business calls while the baby's crying. That must
Yep.
not have been fun. Walk us through that, man. And how did you manage? How did you see the next day? What was the guiding motivation? Walk us through that.
Well, it was 2014 was a very, very special year. Obviously, my son was born, and I got engaged, and I also got laid off midway through the year, and I had already received the news from my wife that, you know, we're expecting, and I was gonna be a dad in December, and so it came in a very I'm going to call it great moment because of that. Now I'm where I'm at. But at the time, it was kind of a, you know, not the perfect moment, you know. So that was a stable job, not my dream job, not even close. But I thought at the time that I would be able to grow. But the business, you know, in itself did not really take off as they had predicted. And I had an idea from the back of my mind since day one. I'm like, man, this is going to be so difficult, you know, but you know, obviously we pushed and we did what we could. But anyway, so when I got the news that, you know, that my son was going to be born, and it was midway through the year, July 16th, actually, we just celebrated a 6-year anniversary. So because of that, I'm like, man, so I'm going to be at home. My wife had a, you know, good job. I'm like, she had to go back to work. Those 3 weeks she had to go back. Well, actually, no, I'll take it back. 3 weeks she had to work from home, and then 2 weeks working from home. So 5 weeks total, she's back at the office. So me, I'm home with my son, and just with a new business. So what I had to do was, make sales calls while he was sleeping, make sales calls. Sometimes he would wake up in the middle of a sales call, and I had to close the door and be outside on the balcony. I used to live downtown back then, and even the balcony was loud because once you go on the balcony, you hear the street noise. So it was and people were asking me, are you okay? Can you talk? I'm like, yeah, I mean, that's the only choice I have. And actually I started opening up also to the fact that, listen, this is my situation. I'm a stay-at-home dad. I just started my business, and I'm talking to you right now, trying to obviously offer my services. So this is the situation, right? So some people embraced that. Some people, you know, respected that and enjoyed it. So in some cases, you know, I think it worked in my favor. So I try to spin it in a way, just like I do today. Actually, it's like a full circle, because now my kids are at home with me and I'm working from home, and I'm like, okay, well, the same situation here. You're going to hear kids. You're going to, you know, so, but the challenge was there. But I think overall, I embraced the moment because I got to spend time with my son. I got to feed him, bathe him, change him. The only thing I didn't do was breastfeed him, and I used to joke around with my wife. That's the only thing I couldn't do, you know. But I'm happy I was able to do that. It got me so much closer to my son. And people underestimate the first year of a child's life. You know, the contact, sleeping on your chest, putting your hand on his back, caressing his head, his feet, his hands, feeding him, bathing him, though they can't remember those moments, but they are I can't find the word, but I guess recorded or encrypted
It's
into
locked
their
in.
minds.
It's
It's
locked
locked in
in.
for forever. So I'm super, super grateful for those, I guess, quote unquote, tough times back in the day, because I think that's the reason why I'm the dad that I am today. So
It's a powerful thing because you know what? What does it teach us about being resourceful? You talked about being vulnerable with your clients. You talk about, you know what, we got to make it happen. So you're not somebody who deals with excuses very well, are you?
no, I kind of internalize my excuses, and that's the truth. So, but I'm conscious of it, and I try the best that I can to, listen. I'm like, yeah, there's a million excuses, but that should not stop you. And I convince myself, because I think when once you internalize things, it kind of weighs heavier. So I'm able to express the fact that there are no excuses, even though deep inside I kind of like forgive myself. So I'm like in between, but I do know for a fact that I have to take responsibility, and I have to accept the fact that if I had done this, regardless of the challenges that were in front of me, if I had done this better, then I would not have been in this situation, regardless, but I still keep a little bit of, you know, excuse on the side. You know what I mean?
We're human. We're human. I totally get you.
Exactly.
I totally get you. You
Exactly.
know, whether it's going to the gym, whether it's just like, you know, getting up and going for that run or just like getting the kids dressed. Sometimes you're not in it. You're not in
Mm-hmm.
it. And you know what? It's important. It's important because a lot of people try to put that best foot forward type of image and without thinking that, you know what, the journey is going to be filled with roadblocks, is going to be filled with, you know, just questionings. And I was wondering, you
Mm-hmm.
know, even up to this point with your experience, because, you know, right now you've gotten to your groove and, you know, as you said, you know, we're still shooting for that $1 million account, which I really, 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 I'm putting all the energy in the universe towards you because I want to see people win. And
Thank
what
you.
keeps you fueled? What keeps you driving? Because again, the grind for you is probably every day.
The grind is every day, man. It's because the thing is with what I do, I have my schedule during the week, but during the weekends, it's when I do a lot of my creative work because I don't have the pressures of, phone calls and appointments and emails. So I'm more relaxed and I enjoy it. Actually, people ask me all the time, why are you always, because I actually enjoy it. I enjoy like the creative work, putting together a campaign and designing stuff. I'm not a designer per se, but I like to put concepts together and ideas together. And that's why I call the company Cool Ideas Marketing, because
Great
it's
name, by the way.
thank you, man. Thank you. So I wanted to share some of those ideas that I constantly have. I write them down. I have a million business ideas, and that's what my clients like about me. So that those things come during the weekend most of the time. So it forces me to almost work 7 days a week. But having to balance your life in a way where even if on a Friday night you have to do something like this, but to me it's entertainment. I still enjoy it. It's just having the balance so that I can spend quality time with my wife, spend quality time with my kids, with my family, and I guess the few friends that I have here. Also, I'm mostly friends with my family. I'm talking about not only my immediate family, obviously, but also my cousins that are. I'm blessed to live like right in the middle of people that I really care about
Hmm.
and I care about me. So they're my closest friends, and we don't. It's almost that saying where we're family by chance, but friends by, I can't remember the saying, friends by choice.
Hmm.
Family by chance and friends by choice. So I'm blessed to have those people around me, and that's my entertainment. So the grind is there, but at the same time, it's just for you to create enough balance so that one day, 2 days, or sometimes even in the middle of the week, I'm like, you know what? I'm not doing anything today. I'm gonna just hang out and just play with the kids. That doesn't happen a lot, but once in a while it does. And I'm working today so that in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years down the road, I'm not gonna want to do all these things anymore. I'm gonna be spending a lot more time with my family, which is the goal. That's
That's
part
the
of the
goal.
grind.
That's the goal. That's the goal because eventually, you make the necessary sacrifices, and people need to stop being afraid of that word
Mm-hmm.
sacrifice, towards, okay, our greater goal. Suffer now. Yes, I'm using the word suffering because it's not a taboo, because you're going to have to
Mm-hmm.
suffer. You're going to have to make sacrifices for the
Mm-hmm.
rewards that you seek, because anything that has value is going to demand more out of you, not less. And you know what?
Absolutely.
I'm hearing somebody basically who's on that path. That's great, man. That's great. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Thank you.
What I wanted to ask you was, in the process of, just you, and because you've never made qualms about it, because marketing has become like your baby. It's something you live and breathe, marketing. And
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering, like, why did you pivot there? Why did you choose marketing exactly? And for those of us, because I'm very good at really dumb questions, what can you simplify for us? I know, like, talking to an expert, I know you're going to go like, okay, put out the Excel sheet and the whiteboard, but what can we define as marketing?
What can we define as marketing? To me, marketing is communication. It's basically the bridge between a product and an audience.
Okay.
And it's also very broad because, public relations is part of marketing. Advertising is part of marketing. It's super, super broad. But
Mm-hmm.
if I were to simplify it, is basically the bridge between the product or service to its audience, right?
Okay.
So I chose this because of the communication and creative aspect of it,
Mm-hmm.
because it allowed me to communicate. It allowed me to be almost as creative as I am when I write music, when I play music. And also it allows me to even include music and film, which actually I'm as passionate about film as I am about music. A lot of people don't know that, but I am. And it allows me to kind of explore both sides. And when I went to college and I had to choose my major, because when I went to college, I went to business school. I had no idea I was going to do marketing at the time. Well, my first semester I decided, but still, when I went into the school, I was like, okay, I'm going to go to business school. And just like a lot of people, from Haiti, especially if your parents are in business, you go to school in the States, you study business, you come back and you take over the business and
There
stuff
you
like
go.
that, which is usually what the pattern looks like. But um, I went in there with the same mindset, but in 2003, when I graduated and I stayed here for about a year, working with my visa. I had 1 year to work and I guess to train within the field that I studied. I had to go back to Haiti, but at the time, Haiti was terrible. But if you look, if you compare it to today, maybe it was
Wow.
probably very
Yeah.
good. But I was like, I made the decision to stay here in the States, and I went back to school actually. And actually, I went back to school to study music business because that was the only way for me to stay here legally.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to be a professional student. I went back to school. I studied music business. So I ended up still studying music, but not music, the theoretical part of music, more about the business side of music. So I could
Management,
understand management.
PR and
Exactly.
stuff. Okay.
Exactly. So I studied that. And then after that, I still didn't have my green card and I went back to school again and I studied film production. That's when I really fell in love with film. So to answer your question as to why I picked marketing is because if you look at the pattern here, I picked things that allow me to be as creative as possible. And that's what marketing
I
gave me
saw that.
within a business school. Very first class of my minor, computer information system, was a night class. And I was about 5 minutes late. And the first thing that I saw when I got into the class was that everybody was, apparently they were taking a test. So I guess it was an assessment test. And I walked up to the professor. I tried to speak to him, and I remember clearly he told me, "Hey, don't say a word," and he gave me a piece of paper. He's like, "Go take the test." So I take the test, and I'm like, "Man, I'm not good at that stuff at all. I'm gonna flunk my very first test for sure, or at least he's gonna know that I'm not made for this." And and that night class is a long 3-hour class, and you have a break in between. So anyway, when we finish the test, you have a break in between, and then I went outside. I never even went back inside for the second half of the class. The next day, I go to my guidance counselor, and I'm like, I'm not doing computer information system as my minor. I'm like, I'm going to do psychology. And then the reason why, again, is because I felt like psychology was not like you know, 1+1 = 2 type of science. It's a science that allows you to explore the mind of you know, of people. And I said, man, that's the perfect combination for my marketing. That way I can kind of get to understand personalities better and people better, so it can complement my marketing. So every choice that I've made in terms of like education has been towards more creative and less technical, more creativity.
See, this is where I invite people, and you know, if you can add your 2 cents, I would love that. I invite
Mm-hmm.
people to really listen to their inner truth. And what I mean by that is that sometimes you think that because you're going to a particular field whatsoever, that somehow it doesn't speak to you. But sometimes you'd be surprised how, you know, the different choices, as long as it speaks to something that is true to you, not your parents, not
Mm-hmm.
your spouse, not your boss, not your colleagues, as long as it's true to you and you're not stealing from somebody's pocket or, you know, causing harm to someone else. If it's true to you, follow that, you know? Okay, you had to pivot away from music, but hey, lo and behold, you're using music in all your campaigns, you're using video production and throughout your own curiosity and remaining true to yourself and your
Mm-hmm.
love of, you know, just being creative and being able to, you know, take these jumbled ideas, because that's not easy for everyone. You can have this mush of a, yeah, I think we're gonna have this, you know, I see surfers and I see teddy bears and, you know, I see orange and clouds and stuff, and you have to make that concrete into a, you know, a marketing and communication form. That's not for everybody, and something that I'm hearing that, you know, you're very hungry for. And that's something that, you know, what can you tell people about, you know what, trust in your truth, trust in what fuels you, you know, pursue what inspires you. And I need, you know, I need you to tell people this, Jeff, that it's okay to take chances on yourself.
Absolutely. It's not only okay, I think it's a must, because you only have one life to live. I mean, I know it's a cliche, but there's a reason for that. I mean, obviously I'm not going to tell people to go and jump off a cliff for no reason. You know, I don't do that. You know, I do a little, I can, you know, I went to Jacques Mel, and I went to Bassin Bleu. Beautiful experience, man. And I took a few risks, you know, but they were calculated risks, because at the waterfall, you know, jumping into that lagoon was one of the best experiences I've ever done. But again, there were like 3 levels of that jump. I went on level number 1. I'm like, okay, listen, I'm not gonna go all the way on top and just like these kids are doing in front of me here. No way, you know. But what I mean by life is short and you have to take full advantage of it is that you have to follow your passion, you know. And I say that all the time. You have to be true to yourself. If you're not being yourself, if you're not living out your passion, I think you're going to be miserable, because there's so many things you could do as a human being. The mind in itself is such a powerful thing. And if you're not putting it at least at use to what you feel is bringing value to you and the people that you care about the most, then what's the point? You know, you're not living, you know. That's where like on social media, I have those conversations with people all the time, you know, especially living here in the United States, and also the principle of capitalism. And it's like, man, this is terrible. It's not a way to live. Like, it's not a way to live. After giving birth, and then you have, as a woman, you have to go back to work, like, you know, 3 weeks working from home, 5 weeks going into the office, you know, and not spending time with your son, your daughter. And not only that, doing something that you're not passionate about, you know, what sense does that make? You know, I think that part is dangerous. And I've taken so many chances and risks, and I'm not afraid to say it. Like, I'm 40 years old, and I'm still, you know, not making the amount of money that I know that I'm supposed to be making as a professional. The past 6 years, I've built, you know, a company that's, you know, that's been sustainable, that's been growing, you know, I'm grateful for that on a yearly basis. But still, you know, I don't see it as like, man, I'm 40 years old, I'm still not, you know, I'm not making it. I'm happy. I'm happy. I think, you know, my family's happy. My kids are extremely happy. My wife, I love what I do. And I know, like you said in the beginning, it's just about that $1 million account that will change everything. But it's not overnight success. It's not like, oh, all of a sudden you got $1 million account and then you got lucky. No, it's because of the years that I spent being patient, crafting or putting time into my craft, and being passionate about what I do and taking the risks. Because yeah, honestly, I could get a job right now that pays me 4 times the amount that I'm getting paid right now. And I'm not even exaggerating, because I have the experience and I have the knowledge. I think, people trust me, and usually when I'm in this situation, I'm able to do very well. But that's not what I want, and I'm not going to stop until I get it. And some people might see like, man, Jeff, there's going to be a time where you're going to be like, hey, you're going to have to maybe just give up and just take that job and provide financial security for your family. That's a valid point. But I'm so close that I'm like, you know what? No, like, I'm going to keep pushing. I'm passionate about it again. And I'm going to let my passion drive me. And that's going to be, who I'm going to be. If I die tomorrow, then I'll die trying, and that's my motto.
There you go. And I know you know this, because again, we're leveling on the same frequency. You understand what I'm going to say. It's just the fact that these comments, let me call them comments, I'm not going to call them critiques, but these comments that we get from our immediate environment are often going to come up, and they're not going to stop. And the more your success is going to grow, the more you're going to pursue into your journey, the more you're going to be true into yourself. And people need to hear this. And people need to understand that, you're going to get more critiques and you're going to get more naysayers, not less. And you know what? You need to be ready for that, because success is going to cost you. And it's going to cost you friendships. It's going to cost you relationships. It's going to cost you opportunities. It's going to cost you time. And I would like you to speak on that, because sometimes it's not easy, because those critiques come from people who are friends, people who are close to you. Those critiques come from family who want you to give up. It's like, hey, go do the safe thing. Like, are you crazy? You have a wife, you have a kids. Like, like you said, you could be making more money. But as you said, you put those words in. I didn't even have to pull it out of you. That's not what you want. And if I have to put in my time, energy, resources, and money, and everything that comes with it, that comes with the grind, for something that I don't want, who's the idiot? Who's sacrificing what? Like, can I at least be doing something that I want? And I want you to speak to those people who are on the edge and, who feel like they're chained to the job, who feel like, they have no other solution or opportunity. Like you said, we're not telling people to jump off a bridge, but at least, understand that, what? At least I'm doing something that makes me true to me. They need to hear that, Jeff. What can you tell them? All the naysayers.
Well, you know what? I mean, when you say that, obviously your immediate environment don't take it as criticism, more of like comments, and I appreciate that. That's true, and even if it were criticism, or even if you approach it as criticism, because it is really, there's also good criticism. I know for a fact they don't want me to fail, so that is always also part of my reasoning behind it, and my acceptance towards it too. It's like, I know they don't want me to fail, but it's also part of our culture. A lot of times, I'm talking about also the Haitian culture of playing it safe.
Yeah.
Be the doctor, be the lawyer, be that, because that's what we do. And don't go outside, or don't go to Hollywood. Don't follow your dream. You're gonna be an actor? Are you crazy? Like, I actually wanted to be an actor too. So I have so many things that I always wanted to do, but I just picked kind of like the middle ground. So I'm picking something that allows me to be as creative as possible, but also will keep the door open for me to maybe become a professional actor. I've written movies, for example, that I wish that I could sell or put into production by a major production company in California or whatever, but I'm not giving up on any of those dreams per se, just because of the naysayers, like you're saying. Because at the end of the day, when I wake up in the morning, I'm by myself. I feel a certain way by myself. Because when I say by myself, because I'm usually the first one to wake up, I'm in my own thoughts. There's nobody else. It's quiet. And I'm the one who has to be like, okay, am I happy today? Am I excited about what I'm going to be doing today? Am I going to am I going to be happy when my kids wake up and be able to, hug and kiss them and have breakfast with them, or whatever it is that I would do that morning? Or am I going to be able to do that with a smile on my face? It's either yes or no, maybe somewhere in between, which sometimes is okay too. But at the end of the day, that moment when you wake up in the morning has to be a fulfilling moment for you. It has to be like, man, I'm excited about what's going to happen today. And I know it sounds like right out of a movie. Most people say, I'm not, most of the time at 5, 6, 7 a.m., whatever time you wake up, you're not excited about anything. You're just like, man, I want to stay in bed.
I need my coffee.
Yeah, I need my coffee, but it has to have a little bit of that. It has to have a little bit of that, because if you dread the process of going to work every day, this takes a bigger toll on you. And whether you are a millionaire or you live, as a modest, middle class, family, and have all the things that you need, but you're providing the emotional support to your family, and you're present physically, mentally, spiritually with your family. That to me is more important than almost anything else. Even if I make millions and millions and I'm never there, whether I'm there physically or even mentally with my kids. And I'm not gonna lie, I think I still have to work a lot on that, because I'm always working for real, and I know that. And my kids have told me that. And when they tell me that, and my son is like 5.5 now, and he's like, man, but you're always working. I'm like, damn, that's so right. And that bothers me. So that's why I'm like, man, I'd rather do this now, and hopefully like in a couple of years, like I said earlier, that it can start to get better and I can spend less time, building my team in a way where I'm going to kind of like take less time, like working and build and continue building with the team. Then I think we'll all be in a better place. But the naysayers, as you say, should not determine who you are and who you want to become. They're not the ones waking up in the morning by, in your shoes, putting your flip-flops or whatever and just, taking your first steps every morning. You're the one doing it. So you have to be comfortable doing that.
You got me so energized here. It's like, you're just like, you're speaking my language. I tell you, same energy, man. Same energy. I hate it when this happens. I hate it when this happens every time we come on top of the hour, because I could be speaking to you for like 3 hours, man. Jeez.
Honestly, I just broke up a sweat.
Man, no, but seriously, Jeff, seriously, I want to celebrate you for everything that you're doing, because it's a message and a mission of truth. I hear somebody who's putting in the work, someone who's putting in the necessary hours, whether it's 10,000, whether it's 8,000, whether it's 400, you're just putting in the grind towards something that's true to you. And like I said, if you're not, you're not taking money out of somebody else's pocket, you're following, your own personal truth, you're being true, to your wife, to your kids, just putting in the work and being true to your team, and waking up with that necessary drive to do good and, just to feed your dream. And that's something that can only be celebrated and acknowledged for the great and awesomeness that you're putting into the world. So that's something I really, 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 really applaud, because it's something, like I said, if I can show support, if I can, just keep connecting and keep creating these conversations and invite people, just to, buy into this journey of yours, because whether it's through marketing, whether it's through launching your own enterprise, whether it's writing a book, whether it's losing weight, whether it's like, putting, more effort towards our personal relationships, or, through our parenting, we can always do better. And you know what? Through examples just such as yours, the journey is going to take time. The journey is going to take patience. It's going to take sacrifice. It's going to take resilience. It's going to take a mindset. And it's something that, it really resonates with everything we try to do here on the program. And for that, and, with time, I know you're such a busy guy, taking time away from your family to be with us. It's something I also want to say a very heartfelt thank you. It's a gem of a privilege to be able to share this journey, no matter how small. But thank you so much for being on the program, man. I really, really do appreciate it.
Man, I had so much fun. I think I had more fun here than you had on mine. I think for sure, because this was awesome, man. You definitely awakened my awesome, and thank you for that, man. I literally had a lot of fun, and I know we're gonna have many more conversations, man.
Oh,
And
for sure. This is not the last. Open invite, man. Anytime you want to be back, you got my number. Definitely going to be back. I
for
know
sure,
that
man.
you've been, putting in the time and listening to episodes, so you know where this is going. The last running tradition. Okay, so now it's your turn. Open platform, open forum. I know you prepared for this. All right, as we like to say, open platform. There's always like to leave the floor up to the guest. A call to action, a kind word, a quote, a music lyric. Any type of inspiring next step, a call to action for anyone who might be listening, who might need to hear it to take that next step towards their next level. What can we leave the listeners with?
Well, we can leave the listeners with, I think one of the biggest points here that we made here is first of all, no regrets, is living up to your I guess mistakes and living up to owning your mistakes and basically trying to get better, and not only understanding them, owning them, but also get better. How can you fix them? Number two, be passionate about what you do, man. I think every single one of us on this planet has been blessed with something that some of them don't know yet. Some of them will find out in due time, but try to find that passion and try to, even if it's not always about money. I really don't think it's about money. And there's a guy that, I think a lot of us know through the media and also because he's a Hall of Fame basketball player, but I always bring up his quote in saying that he's never worked, and it's Charles Barkley. He said that I've never worked a day in my life. And when he says that, you believe him because, and the worst thing is that he's worked so hard at his basketball skills, developing his basketball skills, and even as being a media personality now, he still works hard to do, whatever it is that he has to do and inform himself and inform the public. But for him, what this message is about, if you really, really love what you do, you'll never day of work in your life. And that's what I'm hoping that this episode could leave people with, is to try to do the best you can and follow your dreams and never give up. Really never give up.
Never give up. Never give up. Obviously, man, such powerful words. Time for shameless plugging. Where can the listeners connect with you on the interwebs, my friend?
Well, right now, I just launched my website, jeffpolicard.com. That's JEFFPOLICARD.com, which the reason why I did this is because I'm also a marketing consultant. And I try to offer my clients a variety of marketing services, whether it's my own agency providing them or other agencies that I partner with, because I'm good at, my agency is specialized in social media marketing and website development and SEO. And I offer other services from other agencies as well because they specialize in other areas. And I'm able to provide, the best possible solutions to my clients that way. So that's the best website really right now, because from that website, you'll be able to see, my podcast, you'll be able to see my business, Cool Ideas Marketing, and you'll be able to see also the other services that I provide through other agencies.
I really like the website as well. First of all, I really like it because it's visually pleasing. Of course, you're you're a marketing guy. Obviously, you know what you're doing. But I like it because it's colorful, it's dynamic, it's kooky. It has a lot of your personality in it. That's I really like. And
very important.
That's always, in terms of a website, it really carries that authenticity. That in terms of personal branding, I invite people to check it out. JeffPolicard.com. We'll definitely link it up into the blog post for this episode once it goes live, guys. Another episode of Awaken the Awesome in the can with my guest, Jeff Policard. Entrepreneur, awesome dad, terrific husband, guy with a terrific energy, and definitely my kind of awesome. Definitely the type of energy that I love to have on this program, and I hope you did too. If you found any kind of resonance and, relevance into this episode, please do share it. As you know, we try to push this podcast and this mission as far as we can. So your support and, your wonderful comments are always welcome. Jeff, again, thank you so much for the generosity of your time. I wish you and yours nothing but health and, of course, safety with everything that's going on. So stay safe. As always, you're always welcome back, my friend. As always, guys, have a terrific evening. Stay safe, stay blessed, stay resilient. And as always, stay awesome. This has been another episode of the Awaken the Awesome podcast. We always love to get your feedback, so please do drop us a line via Instagram, Facebook, or email. Our email address, awakentheawesome@gmail.com. Do visit our official website at awakentheawesome.ca, where you can find our entire back catalog of episodes and incredible guests. Also, if you haven't already, please hop on over to Apple Podcasts and subscribe, give us a rating, and leave us a review, as this helps us tremendously in growing this podcast and spreading the word to more awesome listeners like you. We always appreciate your support, and thank you for listening. Stay awesome.